is going on, everybody? Yes, happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. I'm with my handsome co-host here, Ken from The Ugly Truth. We're going to talk some baseball today, everybody. And we're talking about what are the right moves for the Yankees at the trade deadline, okay? And the right moves aren't necessarily always the flashy moves. So, and Ken and I have been having a lot of discussions recently about who could be these hidden gems, who could be the right fits for the Yankees based on what they need. And what do we know, right? What do we know? What are we hearing? Reports are saying that the Yankees are looking for a right-handed bat who could play second base and third base, who could also maybe play shortstop in the outfield. So some type of versatility there, especially with Oswaldo Cabrera out for the season, right? What else do we know? There's a lot of criticisms on reliance of power, right? At relying too much on the home run. So do we necessarily want to bring in a home run hitter? I don't know, right? So there's so many different ways of thinking about it. And there's so many different narratives and talking points that Ken and I just want to dive down into a little bit into this and give you a couple names to think about. So Ken, thanks for coming on, my man. Hope you're doing well. And
appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. Well, Jonathan's got a question already. What are the right moves? Well, you made some. What options, Jonathan? Put them in the comments. But let's get started. And Ken, what was the first name? We were just talking about somebody today. Who's the first name that you can think of at the top of your head that could be a good move for this Yankees?
The White Sox are obviously going to be sellers. They're not going to be good for 3 to 5 years. They've got tradable assets, and they have definite needs. One of the players that I've been looking at recently, I like him. He's a versatile young player. He happens to be a third baseman and a right-handed bat. He's not going to be a free agent until 2029. And his contract is he's running roughly about $770,000
league minimum.
And his name is Miguel Vargas. The holes that I see with regard to the White Sox, they have got a lot of up and coming within the next year or two middle infielders and corner infielders. They've got some of the elements of pitching, but they grade out as number 3 at the high end, more likely 4 or 5 starters, the ones that are in there that are close to the major league appearance. With that being said, the Yankees have a glut of pitchers that are younger, that are high quality. I think that trading controllable assets like that for a young controllable player that we're going to have for many years at a reasonable cost is one of the ways to go.
How would you go about what I mean? They do need pitching. So what type of pitching would you be willing to offer for a guy like Vargas? Again, he's 25 years old, guys. Okay, he's got controllable years, and he can also play the outfield. So he's got some positional versatility, which is what kind of in line with the Yankees are looking for. And does he bat righty? I think he does.
Yes.
Yeah, he bats righty.
He's a right-handed hitter.
He checks off a lot of boxes of what the Yankees are looking for. But what's the price?
I think that we could get away with a 20s pitcher that we have in our farm system, because, like I said, they're looking at being competitive in 3 to 5 years, especially with the new ownership coming to tilt. They're not going to look at wanting to spend a truckload of cash on any player that is major league ready, that they're going to eat ARB years and pre-ARB and ARB years. So let me see. Take a couple of shots here.
This is breaking news, Jonathan. If it's the JT Brubaker, I did put that out last night. For those that haven't heard, after the game, the Yankees optioned out Scott Efros to AAA Scranton, and they fully officially activated JT Brubaker, who's on the 26th-man roster now. So they made a pitching swap last night.
Brubaker I understand that Efros has a couple of options.
Yep.
Hamilton has an option also, so I'm not exactly sure why they would bring a pitcher up that actually seemed to be healthy and did an all right job last night.
Yeah,
I'm just send it back there.
I'm guessing it's probably because of Brubaker being a converted starter and he can throw multiple innings. That's my guess. I don't know if they're going to let Scotty Frost throw multiple innings just yet because he gets hurt so often. So that's my guess. And I could be wrong, but I think Brubaker's longevity in the game is probably working in his favor right now.
All right, we've got Thad Hurd, our number 23 prospect, expected return up to the major leagues is 2028. He's 22 years old, so he's young.
I'd say there's about a 50-50 ratio of the Yankees' top 30 prospects in offense and pitching, right?
Yeah, we're split, and I think the ones that are sitting on the cusp just outside the top 30 are a ton of pitchers.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Does Ian Hamilton get sent down when Luke Weaver's back? I don't know. I mean, maybe. And maybe this. I mean, if the Yankees can't find, so I think the logical fit. I mean, let me know if you agree with me, Ken. Is to have Jazz Chisholm play second. He's just more natural at second, and he's still undergoing a learning curve at third, right? So I think bringing in somebody who's a more naturalized third baseman makes more sense at this point, and having Jazz Chisholm. And you made an important point too yesterday in terms of turning a double play. I haven't seen. You're right. He's lightning fast in terms of getting the ball and distributing it at second base as a second baseman, distributing it to the shortstop to start a double play. He is lightning fast with that.
I mean, it's. I haven't seen anything like that compared to Trammell and Whitaker, the Tigers' great double play team. And Sweetly Whitaker had a fantastic release, and Jazz is in that same mold. Jazz actually has more range than Whitaker did. So Jazz gets to balls that most second basemen can't.
True. It is true. And I do think, yeah,
and,
I mean, he's better suited at second base, I think, anyway.
You can see his learning curve. He likes to cover ground. A couple of plays in this series where he's cut in front of Volpe when it was definitely out of his range. And that's to be expected. It's a learning curve. He is a talented, athletic young man, but when athletes can tend to play multiple positions and be reasonably competent, but there is a learning curve there.
Mm-hmm. True. I mean, and the only third baseman I can think of that's being talked about regularly is Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, right? And maybe you can go over. There's an article from The Athletic, and specifically Ken Rosenthal, that goes over the teams that they think are going to be sellers. And Ken read the article today, and maybe you can share with the folks what teams he's saying are going to be sellers, and we can go and see, do these teams have what the Yankees could use at some point, right?
They are looking at the Diamondbacks being one of the frontline sellers. They have, of course, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez, Alec Thomas, their primary center fielder right now, and
it surprises me.
And a guy by the name of Tim Tawa. He is a utility bench guy. He hasn't got a lot of at bats, but I've watched him. He's decent, and would fill a beautiful spot on the Yankees bench. He's controllable, has a few years or low cost, so it's right in the profile for Hal and the Yankees. Other teams that they listed as sellers, big sellers, actually the Red Sox, with Duran, who we've been hearing for weeks, Abreu, Bueller, Chapman. Some keys. Yep, Walker Bueller on the blocks. From the Rangers, Adolis Garcia on the blocks, which is very surprising to me.
Popular too, right? Yeah. Very weird.
And then, of course, they've got the pitcher
Nate Eovaldi.
Nope, he wasn't actually listed. Molly.
Oh, Tyler Mullen, yeah.
Tyler Mullen was one that they listed as moving. Plus their Berger.
Jake Berger. He's a third baseman, I think. Third base / first base, right?
Third. They're playing them at first, but he is an experienced third baseman.
He's a righty.
I didn't really look into his numbers because, yes,
he's a righty and he's got power. If I remember correctly, when he was with the Marlins before they traded him, he was lighting up the stat reel. Right now, he's batting .222 with 10 homers and 28 ribbies. So, not sexy, but he does display power. And he's got 82 career home runs and he's a career .246 hitter. So he does have power. So that could be another right-handed option for third base. And Jake Berger, unlike Suarez, has a couple controllable years in his contract, if I remember correctly, too. So, but do you think that George Lombard is likely the third baseman of the future? And does it make sense to get a guy that doesn't have controllable years beyond next year in an effort to not – because I don't want to block George Lombard. I also don't want to throw him to the wolves when he's not ready. So I would love somebody who's under control through next year. And then maybe –
If you look at the way they've been working him out down at Somerset, he's playing a hell of a lot more second base than he is third base. It's like a 5-to-1 ratio.
And Jazz,
so I think the Yankees see.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Yankees see him more so as a permanent second baseman than they do as a third baseman.
Could he, in your opinion, could he replace Jazz Chisholm at second, or do you think they would consider extending Jazz and moving him to third for George Lombard at second?
It's an interesting prospect, and it's one that I actually suggested because Jazz has the range. He damn sure has the arm. He has the speed element that I think that the Yankees need, and he's young.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Yeah, Volpe's not getting traded.
Jazz has been in the major leagues for a while, but he's spent a lot of time on the IL.
Yep.
So he hasn't truly developed into the player that he is going to be. He's still feeling it out. And I think in the Bronx, we can help him lead the way. Plus, he loves playing in New York.
Yes, he does. He's got flair.
So,
got flair.
Him being extended would not be surprising to me. Him moving to third would definitely not be surprising.
Yeah, true too. And moving him to third, keeping him there would give him time to actually get comfortable with the position in the long-term scenario. So, if they decide to do that, there's also Rock Riggio. If he continues to develop too, there's a Riggio Lombard option for second and third also. So I don't know whether they want to go in-house or not, but he's raking in Double-A too right now, and so is Spencer Jones. He's raking as well. So they have some guys raking right now.
But Double-A and the majors are two different animals.
Yeah. That's why AAA is an important step, developmental step before you come up to the top. So
I mean, I always say if you're in Double-A, you may have great numbers, but you're unproven talent where you need to be.
Yep. And shout out to everybody in the chat, by the way. 99, Cresta Flash, Jonathan Beagle, everybody in here. And again, if you guys and gals have comments and suggestions, put them in the comments, and we'll consider them. So want to know what you guys and gals are thinking. But back to Ken here. So we've gone over the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. Could you see, in terms of the Diamondbacks, could you see like a Merrill Kelly and Tawa pairing in a trade, or a Suarez and a Tawa pairing in a trade?
I think that's the way forward for the Yankees. Is you're going to see a combo deal happen wherever it comes from. Yeah.
The last
is it going to be expensive? Probably not, because if you look at Tawa, you're gaining years of control. You look at Suarez, it's a contract dump.
Rental.
So are you going to really have to give up a lot of depth in our farm system for it? I don't think so.
Same thing goes for Merrill Kelly.
Honestly, yeah. the Kelly aspect is swapping out Kelly and Suarez. It's the exact same thing because they're free agents at the end of the season.
Yep.
And long and short, Jason, the Yankee fan base went through heartbreak when Juan Soto left. Do we want to trade for a big gun player like that and then watch him walk into free agency?
Yeah.
Preferably not across to the Mets.
Exactly. And this is why I've had my heart set on the guy Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, because he's got controllable years, but he hasn't been made available yet. I honestly think that the Cardinals would rather trade Arenado and keep Donovan. And I mean, if I was the Cardinals, that's what I would want to do. So, but if there's some way he becomes available, I hope Cashman's I hope he's sleeping in front of the Cardinals GM's house. So, but
yeah. Well, we've been talking about this for years. He is the prototypical leadoff hitter / position player, because we haven't really had a solid third baseman since Urshela, I guess.
Probably, yeah. Probably. Yeah, I mean, he brought more value to the Yankees than Josh Donaldson did. Donaldson was an elite defender at third base, but he was also a bit of a problem child. So I think
without a doubt,
Urshela was probably the last third baseman that we had that brought consistent value to the team. And
Silver Sapphire, I don't think there's any chance that we're looking for another outfielder.
Yeah, I mean they've got Everson Pereira still, John Spencer Jones is trending towards a 30-30 season with over 800 OPS. That's raking.
The only thing that's remained a concern is his strikeout rate. He's at 41% right now.
And keep in mind, Aaron Judge had the same problem in AA and AAA, and even when he started at the majors, he had the same problem.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. And
developmentally, also Judge is also a lifetime hitter. Spencer Jones is a converted pitcher, so he's only been hitting for a little 2 years. So developmentally, he's behind Judge, behind Dominguez, behind Kyle Tucker. So it's something that's important to keep in mind.
Right, without a doubt, Jason. I think that the Yankees have been reluctant to promote him up to AAA until the strikeout thing seems to take more of a downward trend.
Mm-hmm. And also, right now he's blocked at AAA. Unless the Yankees call up or trade Everson Pereira, there's really not a spot for Jones in AAA.
Well, speaking of Everson Pereira, one of the teams that I think we could do a 1-for-1 swap with is the Florida Marlins. They have a pitcher out of their pen who has good numbers to me, and the Marlins are hurting for outfielders, and they have coveted Pereira for years. Ronnie Henriquez.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Henriquez is a free agent. We have controllability with him. He's a free agent in 2030. He's under a $775,000 contract right
24
now.
years old.
Yes. Young, controllable.
Look at his stats right now. He's 3-1 with a 3.18 ERA, but he's got 46 strikeouts in 34 innings pitched. So he's a strikeout type pitcher. And he's got 70 career strikeouts in 65 innings. So he averages more than a K an inning, and which would be a good kind of back end of the bullpen option that Matt Blake could work with. That's an interesting.
He is a 5-pitch pitcher, actually. I think he's a converted starter. He has a sweeper, a four-seamer, a slider, a change, and a sinker. And his four-seamer is thrown about 96, maybe close to 97 miles an hour. If you look at his Savant page numbers, he is redlining in a lot of serious categories.
Yeah, he is.
And he's one of those guys that is not, one of the prototypical on the front of the burner type players. And I think, honestly, Jason, there are acquisitions that we can make this offseason or this trade deadline that make the team better and don't break the bank. I don't feel that we need to go after a frontline starter. I think we need to fortify the bullpen. The third base may be something that we need to do. Well, I've got a few people on that bullpen thing.
Good. I think it's better.
One of them,
with Luis Hill coming back. I think you're right. It's better to focus on adding 2 arms in the bullpen, because if we get Luis Hill comes back soon and he's good, then that's a net plus for us. And Jonathan, I'll get to you, but I do have some. Where is it? I have some news in terms of Luis Hill and Luke Weaver. So, and I'll just read this out to you. Right-hander Luis Hill said the plan is for him is to face hitters on Saturday. He's going to face live hitters on Saturday. It's going to be the first time he's done that since being shut down with an injury. So that's a big step. And Luke Weaver, he's faced hitters this past Tuesday for a live batting practice session again at Yankee Stadium since his left hamstring injury too. So he's going to ramp up again in 2 days, and he's taking the steps in the right direction. So he's a step ahead of Luis Hill, but both of them are trending back to back towards coming back to the Bronx, which is good.
Back towards the majors, yeah. No, trending back to the majors. That's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
But with Hill making good progress like that, me personally, that's why I don't really feel the need to make a big splash at a start for a starter. I mean, if I was looking for somebody to bring in, I would look at a number 3. There have been a couple of pitchers. You've mentioned Merrill Kelly. He was one that was very high on my list, and they're going to have a bunch of alligators chasing that tail. The other one has been Abbott off the Reds, but he is pitching out of his mind lately. It's I'm not sure that they're going to actually move him, but he was listed as a movable target about 4 weeks ago.
I wasn't even thinking about him until you brought him up. So thank you for bringing him up. Now he's on my radar too, and thank you, Jonathan, for getting me the intel on Weaver and Hill too. So Abbott is on the radar now. Do you think he's gettable?
I think the way he's pitching, it makes it more expensive. However, I still think that they're willing to move him. The Reds, Tito Francona has the magic zen when it comes to being a manager, but that team is far from complete, and there are assets that he needs. Are we compatible? They need a lot of help in the bullpen. Are there bullpen assets that we could send their way? Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Rays owner is in advanced talks to sell team. Got to get them in this new stadium.
Well,
that's for sure. But
I was about to say they need a new location completely, actually. But
yeah, they do. Which is, but it is what it is. And for those that are saying the strikeout rate is too high, I mean, again, Aaron Judge had the same problem. Look up Adam Dunn, player in the 90s and the late.
Oh my God,
he had like 400 plus home runs. He used to strike out. He barely batted over 200 most years, but he had 430 something. Let me pull up his stats here. He's a guy that struck out a ton and just hit a bunch of home runs. And you know what people remember about him? It was not his strikeouts.
It's the home runs.
It was his home runs. And Spencer Jones, 462 home runs, career 2.37 ERA. So for those that are poo-pooing on Spencer
batting
Jones,
average.
Yeah, 2.37 career batting average. Okay, 1,600 hits, 462 home runs. Okay, and I'm looking up his stats here. Strikeouts. He was a strikeout machine. Almost 2,400 career strikeouts. Almost 2,400. 800 more strikeouts than hits. 800. So for those that are worried about Spencer Jones, yeah, he still needs some time to develop, absolutely. But this is a possible thing. And Spencer Jones is a freak athlete. Also, Adam Dunn was not. Adam Dunn was a big dude, and he played. If I remember correctly, played DH and first base. Is that right, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was definitely a first baseman, a good one actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true
The
too.
the thing with me, Spencer Jones is a long-term player in the Yankees' future. He alleviates the issue with having to go after a contract like Kyle Tucker. Tucker is older than the normal free agent, but he is going to command a king's ransom to bring him in.
You think
And
500 million?
I think 540 for 10 years is what I think.
I think he's going to make more per year than Guerrero did. I agree. I think it's going to be 10 years instead of what did Guerrero get? 12. I think he's
12,
going to be. Yeah, he's going to be shorter years because he's older. Was he? I think he's going to be 29. So you'd be paying for
29.
a lot of decline years. So it's just something to keep in mind. So Spencer Jones he's developmentally a little behind Kyle Tucker, but he's 23, and I'd rather get Spencer Jones for years on the cheap and get similar production, just like I would rather get 6 years of George Lombard instead of 6 years of Ketel Marte at 31. So that's just my take. I can't speak for everybody else, but you bring up an important point with Kyle Tucker, his age, and we do have somebody who represents a similar player right now in house.
Exactly. So why spend for what we already have?
Mm-hmm. We can use that money on Paul Skeens when he becomes a free agent. So
The long and short, the Yankees are great at developing catchers, middle infielders, and outfielders. What the Yankees aren't great is starting pitching.
Yep. And I think to your point, which is probably why they drafted a ton of pitchers in the last 2 or 3 drafts, boatloads of them. And if you look now, their top prospects, 2 or 3 in the top 10 are pitchers that they just recently drafted. Bryce Cunningham, Ben Hess, they're all littering the top 10 right now.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. And these guys are SEC projects too. SEC is
most of them.
Top conference in baseball, just like football. This is a monster
conference. Almost 60% of our first year draft pick pitchers are from the SEC.
Yeah, and they've drafted a lot of pitchers recently. So, which is what we need more to be up in the higher levels of the system. Yes, I mean I wish Chase Hampton didn't have to have Tommy John this past year because I think we would have had another one up there. But I do looking forward to having him back at some point as well. But the Yankees do have some ton of pitchers.
We drafted 28 pitchers last year alone between international free agency and the first year players draft for the MLB. Yep. So we drafted a boatload of them.
And Tyler's point too, yeah, Schmidt, Hill, and Warren are all homegrown. Homegrown is right. So like Hill's going to be coming back. Hill was an international signing. Schmidt was when he came out of South Carolina. He was from South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I don't remember where Warren went to school. That I don't remember. Stroman, Duran. I mean, as far as we heard, he's pitching again. He's going to do another rehab start, I think, today or tomorrow in Double-A Somerset. So I see him getting activated in the near future. But it's going to be another pitching roster move in the near future because they're going to, if they want to have any chance of trading him, they're going to have to give him a chance to pitch and show that he can get guys out and be healthy doing it. They have to give him that chance. But go ahead, Ken.
Addressing Guy, I mentioned that we couldn't develop pitchers. Who's the last big gun major league pitcher who's had a sustainable career that we've developed out of the farm?
Was the last guy Pettit?
Severino maybe, who was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Before that, Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah.
It's just not there. There's not a track record of sustainable pitchers. We do a fantastic job with guys coming out of the bullpen, though.
Yep.
We take it from other organizations and turn them into megalitrites with the way they come in.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Kennedy, and when did he stop pitching?
He
Was that well before any of our staff that's developing pitchers is here now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was him, Phil Hughes, and Jabba Chamberlain were like the next three boomers for the Yankees.
big
The
ones.
Yankees went to the San
Java
Francisco.
Java end Java ended up going to the pen.
Yeah,
Phil Hughes, he never peaked, and Ian Kennedy went to the Arizona Diamondbacks and won a freaking Cy Young Award there after working with them.
and became I mean, it's just, he was a solid pitcher. He was a solid pitcher, man.
But within the confines of the Bronx, we didn't develop them.
Yeah, and right now, our closest guys are probably Cam Schlittler and Alan Winans, right? These guys are the most guys that are most guys eligible for call-ups, recent calls. You got Griffin Herring too, but I think he's ready for a bump up there too, but not ready for the majors just yet. But I think Schlittler and Winans. Aside from them, I can't really think of anybody else.
The Yankees have more failed starting pitchers that do freaking spectacular in the bullpen. Mariano Rivera being number one on that list.
Yep.
Dylan Patansis being another one.
Yep. Yep.
Like the Yankees litter the major leagues with major league quality catchers, we do it with relievers too.
Yep. And there's a reason why they traded a lot of pitchers for in that trade for Juan Soto. Right. And the only one that I think is not having Tommy John is Michael King right now. The rest of them, I think, are all out with Tommy John. So
is Drew Thorpe on it?
I think Drew Thorpe had Tommy John. I think Brito, and I think what's the other guy's name? Randy Vasquez. I think a couple of those guys.
Vasquez.
Yeah. So, but those guys didn't really have a role here. These guys weren't great after they left here either. So that was they had to part with those guys. And I don't even see Michael King coming back to San Diego next year. I can see somebody giving him a big contract somewhere else. But I can't see the Padres trade overseas right now.
The Padres are too competitive. That's been a pipe dream of fans and fans across the board because King and Cease are listed as free agents.
Yep.
Don't count on them chucking their season because they're not going to get better pitchers out there. They don't have a farm system to compete because they blew everything with Tanner Scott last year. They blew 4 of their top 5 and their 25th ranked pick. So they're recouping from that 3-month rental, and I hope that's a lesson to the Yankees that we don't make the same damn mistake.
And to your point too, I do think AJ Preller is bold, so I can still see him trying to swing a trade for somebody like Jarren Duran to get that extra outfielder because they do need an outfielder, the Padres. And if they can't afford him, they can probably get Luis Robert on the cheaper. So because he's also going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Duran will cost a hell of a lot more than Luis Robert would.
Yeah, but even with Duran, you're going to have longevity with him. And
yep.
I tell you what, that guy is fast. He has got incredible speed, and he plays to Petco. He would be a freaking beast in that stadium.
Yeah, he does. He would.
You got fat old men like Machado and Bogarts who hit the ball a ton, but they ain't legging nothing out. But you look at Tatis and some of their other younger players, that center fielder that they've got, those guys got legs. You put another guy like Duran in that outfield, holy moly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they've got to replace Profar. I mean, Profar signed with the Braves. The Braves also have to replace him because he was suspended for most of the year for PEDs. So I could the two teams that I have my eyes on for either Luis Robert and Duran are the Braves and the Padres. And I would add Cedric Mullins to the Braves list too, potentially.
Well, that's what I think that the Braves are looking for him, that left-handed bat, power hitter, capable of playing all 3 outfield positions. So he could shift into left very easily for them.
Yep. And the Baltimore Orioles on that list from Ken Rosenthal as sellers? They are, right?
Yeah.
Who are their tradable pieces? Yep. Who are they looking potentially to
move? Felix Batista, Cedric Mullen,
O'Hearn.
The O'Hearn, their third baseman slash second baseman,
Urias.
Urias, and a one that they had a flag on that I like, and he's been on my list, is Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Dominguez, yeah. Relief pitcher. Yep.
And if you
Urias,
pull,
Urias is another
he
guy.
is, he is, Dominguez is going to be a free agent in 26. He's only got $3 million left on his deal, so he's not going to break the bank. But if you pull his savant numbers, this guy isn't allowing people to score. He's not giving up runs.
Mm-hmm. Which is something that we could use in the back end of the bullpen. I think one of our biggest issues that we've had is with this 3-batter minimum that all these relievers have to face. A lot of the relievers that come in, they walk at least one of these guys, right? Sometimes two before they get outs, and then if Aaron Boone pulls these guys, then they're leaving the next reliever with potentially a guy or two on base. So they're already working at a disadvantage. It's almost like ghost runner all the time for these guys. And that's a good situation. So we need relievers who can get guys out, right? And in whether it's drawing weak contact or striking them out. So I do agree. Dominguez is a good fit. Now, Ramon Urias, he plays third and second and shortstop as well. He's got versatility. He's batting .271 with 4 homers, and he's got a WAR of 1.1. So, and he generally hits a fair amount of doubles. So he's got a little bit of leg speed too. Could a guy like him or Ahmed Rosario or give the Yankees what they need at the position, but also represent the leadoff option too?
And that a lot of people, we're talking starter, bullpen arm, third baseman. For me, when I was looking, I said leadoff hitter, leadoff hitter, leadoff hitter, bench depth, and bullpen arms.
Yep.
I could work the bench depth slash leadoff hitter could be a third baseman or second baseman. I didn't care. Didn't feel the need to even look at starting pitching. One of the guys that you've been high on, Bird out of the
Rockies.
Out of the Rockies, is a solid bullpen guy. What is it that you like about him?
He's a high leverage situation type of guy. He throws hard. He's got good breaking stuff, which tends to translate better on sea level than it does in altitude. And he also has 3 years of arbitration left after this year. So he's a pre-arb guy still. And getting that high leverage reliever with controllable years, I think, is going to be important, especially since they're going to lose either Devin Williams or Luke Weaver. Most likely Devin Williams. I think they're going to try to bring back Luke Weaver, but there's a chance they could lose both of them. So any reliever that we bring in, I think we need to have some controllable years attached to them, which is a guy like Jake Bird kind of reminds me of a Luke Weaver type. He just throws harder, and he's got those controllable years.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Talbot brings up my other sleeper pick from the Rockies. Talbot does. Seth Halverson. He is a free agent. He's a free agent in 2030. He's under a contract of $768,000 right now. And take a look at his savant charts. He's a 3-pitch pitcher, but he is a freaking monster in Colorado.
Could you imagine if the Yankees were able to pull a trade for both of those guys? I mean,
well, when you're talking combo trades, that's what I'm talking about.
What do you think? I'll ask you and I'll ask Talbot. What do you think it would cost to get both those guys in a trade? What would you be willing to give?
They've got a decent. They don't need outfielders. They don't need infielders. They don't need somebody behind the dish. What they need is people on the bump. You can't bring a free agent starter into that market. You can't bring bullpen guys into that market. We've seen when we were there. The altitude says breaking balls don't work right.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have enough young talent that's at the starting level that could be in there and develop and actually learn how to pitch in that environment? I think we do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, who would we be willing to trade? If you're looking at two top tier picks that have a boatload of control between the both of them, we're gonna eat some prospects. Do I think they're interested in a Dominguez, a Jones, or a Lombard? No, not at all. They would be more so interested in a pitcher that they saw perform like Will Warren.
I would be willing to give up Will Warren in a package for both those guys.
Exactly. There are pieces that we have that can get moved.
Yeah. Especially since we could replace Will Warren with somebody like Cam Schlittler or Alan Winans. So, and he's got a good arm, obviously. So it took him a little while to adjust, but he's got a good arm, Will Warren. But you're going to have to give to get, right? And that's an area where we have got high level positional depth in which we could replace Will Warren immediately if we needed to.
Yeah, 99. I'd rather give Clark Schmidt than Will Warren too. However, they're not going to take him. Schmidt pitched in Colorado and got freaking hammered because he couldn't adapt to the environment.
And Warren's got 5 controllable years left after this year. Schmidt's got 3. So I think the controllable years will come in handy, so that they have time to adapt on the cheap there. But I see your point. We know Schmidt, obviously, but if you can get both those guys somehow, some way, and Warren's the piece that you got to do, yeah, sign me up for that. Yep.
And they also the Rockies listed Ryan McMahon as an available option for a departure from their team this season.
It's kind of crazy though, because what we're hearing is like we're hearing like the team last year, and they told him directly that he wasn't going to get moved because he was worried about his uprooting his family and so on and so forth. And I get it. And even talking to Clint Hurdle last night, he was kind of alluding to that type of stuff, right? And we were talking to Clint Hurdle yesterday. Well, for those that don't know, he's the hitting coach for the Rockies. We were talking to him yesterday. I find it harder. I'm not sure that the Rockies are going to move McMahon. I could see them moving one of those relievers, or maybe 2 of those relievers, and getting some pitching back in return. I think McMahon's probably going to be a lock over there for them. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine. If you can somehow you get a guy like Vargas from the White Sox and 2 of those relievers, that's a hell of a deadline. That's a hell of a deadline.
You call it a wash, brother.
Yeah. That's
and
a
if
monster.
You could sneak in a Tim Towel on top of it.
That's a monster deadline. Yeah. None of which are sexy names, but I don't care about the sexy names, the shiny objects. I want the impact players, the right fits. And those guys could be great fits.
The way we tabbed it out though, you get controllability with almost every one of them. Yeah. They're decent controllability, and you're not paying out the gazoo to get them. They are not going to kill us on the freaking tax.
Yeah.
And it moves towards Hal's objective of getting younger and dropping payroll.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. 100%. CT cards, what's happening? Hello, Tiffany. Hello, Susan. How are you, ladies? And again, like, this is where, in my opinion, the Yankees could accomplish their goals and stay. What do they have? About $12 million in payroll space before they match last year's payroll, right around there. This is where they can make these moves and stay within that framework. It would cost them some prospects, yes, but it would cost them more prospects than it would salary. So, and this is where they can be sneaky good here, sneaky effective.
The things that I look at with regard to this ballpark is you're talking prospects that are unproven major league talent. A lot of those guys are blocked. They have no path to get to the major leagues. So why not give them the opportunity to shine somewhere else and become major league players? It's a small community to begin with. Mm-hmm. And it's a damn shame if you're held behind somebody else waiting to get your shot.
Now, if you're talking in-house, just not trade deadline, a lot of folks want Jesus Rodriguez called up. Is he an upgrade over what we have now at third base and across the board?
No, absolutely not.
And doesn't guarantee that
No.
he's going to break at the majors either. Raking at AAA is not raking at the majors. Look at Jackson Holiday.
Exactly.
He hit 700 in AAA, and he came up to the majors. What he hit 020, and then he went back down. Hit
and got sent down twice.
Yeah, got sent down twice.
You look at look at Roman Anthony, the number one hitter prospect this year that Boston called up. He's hitting what, 0.61 right now?
Yeah. So it doesn't always translate, which is why we got to take that Jesus Rodriguez with a caution sign. This is why we talk about the trade deadline, where these guys are already performing at the major league level. And for a team that's always in win now mode. Go ahead, Ken.
If you look at Jackson Holiday, his pedigree from his father being a major league player, that he was a prototypical can't miss type player. Mm-hmm. Well, he was hitting I watched this kid hit down here. He was hitting almost 700 with home runs about every other bat, and couldn't carry his weight in a bucket in the major leagues.
Yeah, you hit 700 in AAA. You are raking, beyond raking. So, but it doesn't guarantee. And that was before Roman Anthony. Jackson Holiday was the number one prospect in all of baseball. Jesus Rodriguez is number 30 on the Yankees' top 30 prospects. 30. Okay, so you just got to take that with a grain of salt. We have to. I think it's important to just factor this stuff in. And if he comes up here and it doesn't work out, what do? And they bring him up here instead of trading, and then they miss the opportunity to trade. What happens then? So, and I think any trade, Tats, what's happening, my man? Prospect, yeah, exactly. Prospects are. I'm gonna put this up here. Prospects are always a question mark. Is how much patience is an organization and fan? Well, I think and let me know if you agree, Tess. Let me know if you agree, Ken. I think the organization is a hell of a lot more patient with the prospects than the fans are. Right? So
I tend to agree with you, but my caveat on it is the organization puts so much hype on these prospects that the expectations of the fans are unrealistic completely.
Yeah, and then you compound that with the fans' hype and then the beat writers' hype, and all of a sudden it's like there's unfair expectations on some of these players. So, and then you have you have people thinking Volpe's a bust or Dominguez is a bust and blah 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 because of this hype that's bestowed upon them by people outside the organization. I don't remember Cashman hyping Volpe through the roof or Dominguez through the roof. Sometimes I forget what Cashman's voice sounds like. He doesn't talk to anybody.
Let's see. We have the next Derek Jeter, Mickey Mantle, and Aaron Judge all in the wings.
Yeah. Welcome to the family, Rebel. Welcome, brother.
How in the heck could any of those guys actually live up to those expectations?
Yeah. And who had to replace Derek Jeter? Didi Gregorius.
Gregorius.
They hated him when he first came here. Right?
But Didi had his Yankee moment, and they loved him afterward.
It took him like 2 years to get to it, but he endured a lot of hate from the fans, and he stuck with it, and then he became beloved by the Yankees. So, and that just shows the expectations that some people walk into. Like Tino had to walk into the Don Mattingly expectations. Fans hated Tino Martinez until he runs in '96, right? He was booed.
You remember how they used to just stand up and openly boo Tino?
Yeah, it was like it was so hostile toward Tino until he started, and he struggled in the first month or so. He did, and then he found his way, and then now he's a Yankees legend. But it's even the Yankees legends go through these hornets' nests, and it's a real thing. It is a real thing. So, but so Vargas's career, batting .765 at bats, hitting .197. What? Hold on. I lost it. New York has only one pro football team. The Buffalo Bills. They're the only ones that are located in New York. Yes. The Giants and Jets play in freaking New Jersey. So, oh well. But yeah, I mean, losing Oswaldo Cabrera hurts. That's a big blow to the Yankees this year because of his versatility. So a guy like Vargas, a guy like Ahmed Rosario would come in handy for the Yankees,
Definitely.
right? And at an affordable price, especially Ahmed Rosario. You know he's going to be a free agent at an affordable price. So would the Nationals move him? I have no idea. No idea. You know, I'm not sure any of us know. So, since Stephen B sent you a text, Ken.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm losing Oswaldo. Was
See,
a
I'm
big
one of those old guys that's not actually a slave to my cell phone.
Yeah, I generally don't have my phone nearby when I'm doing the stuff. So, but shout out to everybody in the chat. If we haven't said hi, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to The Ugly Truth if you haven't done that yet. You want perspective, you want knowledge, and just straight out good information, you got to make sure you subscribe to The Ugly Truth. No. My phone, exactly, Suti. Yeah, my phone's on silent when I go on streams too. Yeah. Otherwise, I have the Michael Myers from Halloween theme on my phone. That's my ringer. So, do you want that in my phone blown up? With that, no, I doubt it. So, yeah, when Cabrera went down, it was a gut punch. And Jonathan mentioned earlier that Daniel Cabrera could be available for them. And you mentioned the Marlins as a list, right? On that list as potential sellers?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Who are the players that
and
they're thinking of on that list? They're mentioning.
They had, of course, Alcantara. They had Cabrera, pitcher.
Daniel Cabrera.
Daniel Cabrera.
Did they have Enriquez on that list or Andrew Nardi as relievers?
Enriquez was on that list, as well as one of the infielders.
Xavier Edwards?
Doesn't possibly.
Is it possibly? Yeah, Eduardo Cabrera, Jonathan. That's the guy. That big right-handed pitcher. He was injured recently too, but he's got a big arm. And like I was thinking of him as somebody like Michael Pineda, who was a big arm that came here but never had an opportunity. Like Matt Blake never had an opportunity to work with a guy like that. And he was more with Larry Wilde, one of these other guys who tried to change Sonny Gray. I don't know why, but
after Pineda got popped with pine tar on his neck twice, he didn't have a hell of an opportunity.
True.
In New York.
True, but I would. Tats, man, thank you so much for coming on, brother. Always a pleasure, and you're always welcome on, man. You can join us anytime you want. So, I hope they put on a hit clinic tonight too, my man. Yeah, we need. And what's crazy too, gang? This is nuts. So there's some metrics that I'll mention to you before we wrap it up with here, Ken. This is some of the stuff that came out last night, and it doesn't make me feel much better about being shut out 3 games in a row and losing the 5 straight game. But the starting rotation ERA during this 5-game losing streak is like 160. Okay, so the pitching has done their job, but obviously the bats haven't done much. But with that said, they're hitting a lot of balls to the gloves, right? And here's some data to back that up. Okay, they're first in leagues to having hard hit balls that resulted in outs in this 5-game swell. 90 balls with ideal attack angles, first in the league. Okay, they squared up 64 times that resulted in outs, second in Major League Baseball. Hard hit fly ball outs, 15 times, second in baseball. Sweet spot outs, 22. We saw a bunch of balls hit to the warning track that just looked like they just died before it hit the wall. That's fourth in the league. 42 outs that were hit really hard, first in the league. So they're hitting the ball hard, but they're hitting them to the freaking gloves, or they're striking out, right? So I'm more frustrated with the impatient at bats and a lot of the strikeouts, but this just goes to show that the Yankees are not far. I think somebody's just going to have to ignite this fire, and then I think with this lineup, let me know if you agree, Ken. A lot of these guys are going to be hot at the same time. A lot of them are going to be cold at the same time, right? And this is kind of what we're seeing now. So I think once they heat up again, a bunch of guys are going to take off together.
I mean, Jason, you only need 3 or 4 to be hot for you to carry your team through the ride. I just have never seen in all the years of watching baseball, all 9 players just start, 8 out of 9 stink it up right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
For a definite period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to go out and find the voodoo doll that's sticking the Yankees right now and pull the damn pin. Be done with it.
Yeah, goddamn right, man. It is a voodoo doll. Somebody's just stabbing that thing everywhere, man. It's crazy. But I do think the Yankees are on the verge of. I think it's important to just I encourage, and it's easier said than done. But I hope folks hang in there with the team. I really, really do. Spencer Jones. I would love Spencer Jones to be called up here, but I think they got to call up Everson Pereira before they call up Spencer Jones. Pereira's raking in AAA. He's hitting well. So, and he's hitting well with power, and he's also a righty bat. So, and again, there's been chatter recently about Dominguez potentially being an option to be moved. If they do that, I don't know that they would, but if they do that, you got to call up Everson Pereira. You got to promote Spencer Jones to AAA. That's just a logical projection there, at least in my opinion. But I'm not moving Dominguez unless I'm getting a starting pitcher with controllable years. I mean, a front line, like one of those Seattle Mariners starting pitchers, one of those guys with lots of years. Would you move him for anything else, Ken?
No, not a chance.
Doesn't make any sense.
And damn sure if I'm moving him, he's not staying in the American League. The only time I want to see this dude is in an interleague shot or in the postseason.
Yeah.
Don't want to see him in division kicking me in the head 15 times a year.
Send them to the Pirates.
Don't want to see him out of division in the American League kicking me 6 times a year.
Yeah. So I like the Mariners and the Mariners pitchers, but I would rather send them to the Marlins or the Pirates or something like that. But we know Paul Skeens is not being moved. And number one, you'd have to move Jones, Dominguez, and Lombard probably at the same time, Paul Skeens. So that's probably going to be the asking price for that craziness. But he'll be a free agent at 26. So we have guys in the meantime that can help us up.
He's getting dumped before then, and he's probably going to end up on the Astros.
It might happen. It might happen. Yeah. And apparently the Astros are.
They're the ones that.
Right?
They're the ones that always seem to get the players that hurt us.
They got Verlander, so yeah, and they got Verlander on the waiver deadline. So he was placed on waivers by the Tigers.
Last second trade.
Yep. So, that kicked their ass. He helped lead the Astros to the World Championship that year. So, smart move by the Astros, man. Really smart move by the Astros. But the Astros are right now.
Kick in a little.
They're trying to trade for Brendan Donovan. The Astros.
You kick in a little Garrett Cole on there. They picked up Yusei Kikuchi last year to face us and kick us in the ding-ding if we met them in the postseason. Yeah. They're the team that always picks somebody up to hurt us directly.
Yep. Now we got to give it to them. We got to kick them in the gonads right back at them. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to move Fran Valdez. I think they're going to try and stay in this thing. They might try to add to see if they can contend. So, I don't know. But I'm not really worried about the Astros as much as I'm worried about the Tigers. We'll see. Any other names you can think of, Ken, before I wrap it up, that could be the good moves for the Yankees at the deadline? For the viewers to consider?
I had basically the main ones that I've been looking at under the radar guys. There are a lot of guys that I'd like to see that are in division, but I know there's no way we're pulling trades off like that. Plus, the Yankee tax is for real.
Yes,
what it would cost us and seeing those guys come back for years, like when we faced Boston this last time, the pain that I felt, Narvaez kicking us in the nads, Weissert kicking us in the nads, Refsnyder kicking us in the nads, all ex-Yankees just doing it to us.
Yep.
It's like when we went down to play Tampa. Juman Choi kicking us every time we're down there.
He used to
It's
kill
like
Cole.
Kill
Cole.
ex Yankee players are like a freaking boomerang.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
99, how long do we stick with Wells? I'm not a Wells advocate, never have been. They brought him up as a bat. I don't think as bad as all that effective. Never have. And I hate, as far as being a guy calling the balls and strikes, he's fine. Pitch framing, he's a plus. Throwing the ball to second, he stinks. He's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a catcher throw the ball and hit the pitcher's mound. Yeah,
True.
he is one of the ones that I was looking at.
Yeah, Jonathan.
And the amount of times
Abbott from the Reds. That's Ken was mentioning him earlier. Another good.
and the amount of balls that Wells threw into Judge in center field just makes me shake my head often.
Yeah. He's got that clutch hitting gene in his genes though. So, but he knows how to handle a pitching staff well too. But I don't know.
One of his big attributes is the ability to pitch frame.
Mm-hmm.
With the implementation of the ABS system or something similar, that's not going to make any difference anymore.
Yeah, does that make it irrelevant? Yeah, exactly. It's going to be different once that system is implemented full time. It's going to be a different approach to catching. I'd like to have somebody like AJ Pierzynski back on. I remember talking to him and talking about the evolution of the catching position and what could change if something like this happened. Because he was a hard-nosed. He was like a Pete Rose type player, just stand collide with players and fight players, and he was a hard-nosed old school player, AJ Pierzynski, and that was a great.
Who would be
who?
A good one to get a perspective on would be Yadi Molina.
Yeah. He's definitely gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But he was a hard-nosed catcher, and he didn't play around at the plate. Somebody come trying to barrel him in. I've seen him cartwheel more than one person.
Yep.
And he was one of the biggest anti-advocates of the no running over the catcher at the plate.
True.
He didn't want to see that role.
True. He reminded me of Mike Scioscia. He was also a hard-nosed catcher. Scioscia was he was a very tough one too. Benito Santiago, another great one. With a rifle for an arm. Freaking camera. Yeah, we have De Los Santos and Narvaez. Yeah, I mean, look, we have depth at catch. We have depth at relief pitcher. Those two positions I'm really not worried about. Damien, thanks so much for the kind words, man. If you want another great, knowledgeable baseball mind, the guy sitting next to me right here, Ken, from The Ugly Truth, make sure that you subscribe to his channel, too. I want to have
Appreciate it.
Good minds on here and good insight and people that are going to help elevate the conversation, give us something to think about that we might not be thinking about now, right? That's the whole point of these discussions. Eric Kratz, yeah, he was a foul territory. We had him on as a guest too. Eric Kratz, former Yankee. Comparing Narvaez to Wells. Narvaez knew how to work count. Well, Narvaez has a small sample size too, so. He has a small sample size, Narvaez. But the Yankees traded they're like 10 deep at catchers. They had to make that move. And if you look at the pitcher that they traded Narvaez for, he's like number 6 in the system right now. Rodriguez Cruz. I think he's their 6th prospect, one of their biggest arms. So they got good value back.
Thanks, Guy.
Yeah, thank you for support. Appreciate that, Guy. But gang, we'll let you all go. Any final thoughts?
If you look at the scope of Major League Baseball, we've populated a lot of teams with catchers across the league. We're great.
Yeah.
We're great at developing them, and there's talent. There's talent down in the minor leagues for us. This kid in Double A, Flores, that guy's got a freaking howitzer for an arm.
Yep. And there's a reason. Jonathan says this all the time. There's a reason why we get looted a lot in the Rule 5 draft. Teams like our prospects, and they're always looting our guys in the Rule 5 draft. And Jonathan mentioned someone else as an option too, Dylan Jaso. He's a third baseman in Double-A right now. 22 years old. Batting 282 with 9 homers, 33 RBIs, and OPS at 837. He could be another guy for a promotion. He's probably blocked by Lombard right now, but he could be another guy to think about as well as a prospect. But he is blocked by Lombard because you got Riggio at second and Lombard at third, right? So, but there's prospect depth everywhere in this Yankees team. Everywhere. And thank you, Jonathan, for constantly giving us intel.
It's a funnel.
Yeah.
It's a funnel. You have a wide spread, and when it comes to the major leagues, you got to be the tippy top, and it's hard to get there.
Yep. And the last time, gang, last time the Yankees drafted in the single digits was Derek Jeter. That's like 1992. It's 33 years ago. Since then, they've been drafting lower. That's just a sign of their sustained success, continued success. So just something to think about.
Just think. We won't even be drafting in the first round this year. We're so good. We get the compensatory round.
Compensatory round, number 39. That's our first pick. Because we signed Max Fried. We would have been 29, but we signed Fried, dropped 10 spots because he was attached to a qualifying offer. We lost the second round pick and the 5th round pick. So 39 is our first pick. We don't even have a pick in the second round. Okay, our next 2 picks after that are 3rd and 4th. That's the pin. And this is the thing. And one final thought too, Ken. Do you think that punitive measure for teams that sign players attached to qualifying offer needs to be changed? That's a lot to lose when you sign a player. When players
Hell yeah, it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
We get penalized for improving our team, for spending to improve the team, and these garbage can organizations who take our money, pocket it, don't improve their organizations, get freaking top tier draft picks. Then when these guys start to matriculate, they dump them.
Yep. And we're giving these teams free money, like the Marlins.
136 million last year came directly off our books to go for
revenue
compensation.
That's a frustrating number, man. Could you imagine if the Yankees didn't have to do that? Their payroll, I think, would be significantly higher. But they have to give all these things in there. They're paying at least $50 to $60 million a year to try to finance the stadium. But they're scheduled to pay it off in 2030, 2031. But there's interest payments that go along with that and so on. So that's another nut that they're trying to get rid of too. So they dish out a lot of money. TJ Rumfield, it could be. I think he could be a trade option. I think if the Yankees are going to call somebody up at this point for a corner infield spot, it'll probably be Jesus Rodriguez because he's hitting a lot more than TJ Rumfield. Any final thoughts, Kim?
I could see.
Go ahead.
I could see TJ coming up if we traded Rice.
Yeah. And who would you trade Rice for? That's the other thing. I want some value back for
if Rice is going. If Rice is going to the National League, and it's going to be a pitcher who has long-term control. It's not going to be some guy that I'm going to have for 3 months. So who that pitcher may be, would I consider trading him for an Andrew Abbott? Sure. I definitely would.
Yeah.
5 years of control for 5 years of control, no doubt.
Fair swap. That's a fair swap. So with that, King, I want to thank you all for coming on to the chat. Appreciate all your comments, feedback. Please hit the like button. Please make sure you subscribe to The Ugly Truth as well. And we'll be back later with the lineup. Ken, and you want to tell everybody where to find you next time you go on live, doing play-by-play and everything else?
I am at Yankees The Ugly Truth. I will be doing the play-by-play for tomorrow's Angels-Yankees game on Yankees The Ugly Truth. I'm considering a 2:30 quick shot for an open panel, so we'll have that available.
All right. So
other than that, just chilling.
Gang, have a great day. Peace and love to all of you. We'll be back later on with the lineup. See y'all next time. Go Yankees.
All right. Let's go Yankees.